it's preparing for the downs, not the ups, preparing for the downs, right? You're gonna have massive swings. There's different seasons. There's seasons where I found people love to take care of themselves, like one that we're about going into when the weather gets better. And when it gets cold, people tend to not really take care of themselves that much. It's just a trend that I've noticed. So preparing, stocking that money away into your business account and making sure that you're ready for a rainy day or month or two, who knows. You got to be ready for anything, and that's something that I wasn't fully prepared for in regards to like preparing financially for having my own business.
What sets a practice apart? For Dr. Mike, it's a combination of genuine connection, patient education, and a commitment to getting real results. In this episode, we explore his interactive sales process, the importance of empowering patients, and how he blends high-tech tools with human touch. Get ready to rethink how you build your practice and connect with your patients. Dr. Mike Isseks, welcome to the show. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, Corey. Thanks for having me on.
We have an interesting story to tell between going from anxiety and having a pretty traumatic experience to ultimately building a $250,000 business. And we're going to cover everything in between. But I think the best starting place for this then is that origin story of dealing with some challenge at a younger age and then eventually figuring out how to work through that. Can we maybe start there?
We can. And I've actually never shared this story publicly. But yeah, between age 16 and 17, I was on a youth trip with a final destination of Israel. And a friend of mine at the time, there was maybe 8 of us, and she said, hey, why don't we do this? Why don't I make some cannabis brownies and bring them on the plane? Again, this was 1997, so it was a little easier to get things through TSA, I would imagine. So she smuggled them through, and then we flew from Los Angeles to JFK in New York, and we started eating the brownies sitting in the terminal waiting for our flight to Prague. And my friend Rachel and I, we were both eating them. She ate almost a whole one, and I ate maybe a little over half.
Had you ever done drugs at this point before?
I had smoked here and there, but it wasn't a regular thing for me. And obviously I had no idea of the physiological effects of eating it as opposed to smoking it. So at that time I was just expecting to feel a little buzzed or a little high. And so we're sitting in the terminal, and 30 minutes go by after we'd finished eating, and she goes like, I'm not feeling anything. I'm like, yeah, me neither. And then literally 30 seconds later, she goes, oh my God, Mike, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I'm like, what are you talking about? All she kept saying was, oh my God. And then within 30 more seconds, it hit me, just took over my body. I felt like complete numbness, had no idea, what this feeling was, how long it would last, all of that. So of course I started going into, an anxious state, of course, kid away from home, high out of his head. And we just start running through the airport. Like maybe we could just take our mind off of it. So we're jogging through JFK, running to the bathroom, throwing water on my face, like all of the things to try to get it to go away. Obviously it just kept building and building and building. And before I know it, we're boarding the flight to Prague, and I get on the plane. She immediately goes back to the bathroom. She starts throwing up. I sit next to a girl who's also a part of our trip, and luckily she had been there, done that before, and she wasn't involved in the brownie agreement. So we were just sitting next to each other, and I kept thinking we were taking off when we were still on the ground. Like I was out of it. And basically I had an 8-hour anxiety attack, which she helped me ground me, walk me through, what I needed. She gave me what I needed at that point. But yeah, long story short, after that, after the trip completed, I was home, and I started feeling, while I was sleeping, I started feeling like I had like this lump in my throat. I didn't really know what was going on. Like more anxious feelings started coming up, which I couldn't identify them as anxiety, of course. But yeah, I walked into my parents' room, like something's going on. And so they ended up taking me to the doctor the next day. The doctor's like, nothing's wrong with his throat. maybe you take them to a therapist, something mental might be happening. And so, went to a therapist, started walking through and learning what anxiety was. And at that point, it was like that helped, talking to the therapist, but it was ingrained deeply in my nervous system. A few sessions with a therapist wasn't gonna get me out of what I just got into. And so I went down a road of just like having anxiety attacks come up, I'd say 2 to 3 times a week. And, it affected my ability to be social, speak up in class, raise my hand, all of that. So I was always just kind of sitting in the back, not involved, deathly afraid of, getting up in front of people, public speaking, that type of thing. So,
prior to this, had you had that? Were you having those emotions, or are you pretty convinced that like experience triggered this anxiety?
I was pretty convinced that it was that experience. Huh. And most likely it was a few years later that I kind of put those two things together. But, when you're 16, 17, it's just, you're living in the moment, and I wasn't able to make that connection.
Have you done cannabis since?
I experimented with it once, maybe twice, years and years later, but it would still bring up those feelings of anxiety. So I realized that wasn't good for my physiology.
So I've never actually brought this up either, since we're on the note of talking about things we don't talk about. But it's crazy. I had a semi-similar experience actually right around, I think, the exact same age. Is that I was with a couple of buddies that were very into marijuana at the time. Yeah. And we decided to go on a car ride in Hotbox. And we were just doing like round after round after round of smoking this bowl. And I had no idea prior to this point. Like, I was a 16-year-old, I was a moron. Right. And got the worst anxiety of all time. Very similar. I don't think mine was 8 hours. That's crazy to me that yours was 8 hours. I think luckily mine was like, probably a couple, but then I went to bed to try to like sleep it off. But yeah, so like ever since I tried it, every time I tried since then, it brings up the exact same anxious feeling. So I hate it. I actually some people love it. I hate the feeling that it gives me.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah. Just based off past experience,
Right. It makes you wonder, is like, because obviously every drug affects somebody differently. But it also makes you wonder too, is like, how much of this is nature? How much of this is nurture? Is it like, do I already have a preconception to anxiety to be like, I don't know. Like, it's an interesting idea.
It's very interesting. Yeah. And the fact that it just kept coming up. And I was like, what is this? What is this feeling? Like, how long is it going to last? Is there something wrong with me? And you start asking yourself all these questions, and until I actually learned about it and learned ways to combat it. And there's just energy moving through the body at a much higher rate. And you can actually transmute that energy and turn it into, productivity or...
Is that what you did?
Oh yeah.
You learned how to harness it?
Absolutely. I definitely learned how to transmute it into, okay, this is just emotions that are just moving through my body, and it will settle. And as long as I'm present at this very moment, it's virtually impossible to be anxious if you're present in this very moment. So anxiety comes up when you're worried about something in the future. The what if, like, what if this happens? What if that happens? And we're always, our monkey brains are always just jumping around in that regard. Like, oh, what if I'd go and I bomb this? And then, it's depression, and when you're thinking about stuff from the past. So if you're able to be in this present moment, that's where you can really combat the symptoms of anxiety.
So how were you able to deal with it then? I mean, this is going to sound so stupid and cliche, but is it just as basic as mindfulness practice, just learning to be more present?
That's part of it. Yeah. I actually went through, I came across an actor named Josh Pais. He was the voice behind one of the Ninja Turtles. He's been in a bunch of other stuff. But he has a class called Committed Impulse, and he teaches actors and entrepreneurs and people who just need to be on stage how to be present. And one of his techniques was saying out loud, anytime your mind starts to drift off, and he calls it the monkey mind, drifting off into the future, you say, "I'm back." And it was like, it could be any words for anyone, but that's what he used. I'm back, to snap you back into this present moment. And when you come back to this present moment, you start focusing on an intricate detail, like the threads on your black shirt, for example. When you're focused on something that intensely, it's virtually impossible, again, to be drifting off in the future or falling back in the past. So all these little techniques and that I would pull from different, self-help books, things like that. And that was probably the biggest one, the I'm back to combat anxiety.
Is it weird that makes me think of the Terminator?
It's not weird at all.
Okay. I'm back, or I would be back. It's similar, right?
Yep,
I don't know.
yep.
Anyways, Michael Singer, if you're familiar, has something very similar to that in his book, Untethered Soul. I can't remember the exact phrase off the top of my head, but it's something similar about like pulling you back to the present moment. Oh no, this is the one that it is, because I use it all the time. It's release and let go. That's the trigger for me all the time. Is like if I'm like holding on to something or depressed about the past or anxious about the future, for me, it's release and let go.
Okay.
Is like,
so you tell yourself that.
Yeah. I notice whatever it is, the thought, the emotion, the feeling, the thing. And it's like, okay, cool. Release and let go. And it's literally like, it sounds so stupid and basic. Probably just like, I'm back. It seems like the most like rudimentary thing of all time is like, you just literally say I'm back. It's like, yeah, like it's actually that basic. In the same way that I'm like release and let go. It's like, it's that simple. It's like, yeah, I don't know why, but it just goes away.
It's amazing what the brain can respond to, right? Something so simple.
Yeah.
It can actually snap out.
So how long did it take you then to like work through this? I mean, I'm sure this was years.
It was years. Yeah, it was years.
I don't know.
I mean, I experienced it through college. Having a drink here and there during college would help calm my nervous system. I went into chiropractic school after that, and honestly, I had difficulty going through some patient interactions during that time. Again, it was all new to me, and I had to communicate this brand new, chiropractic field to a new potential new patient. So that would also that's where a lot of the anxiety would come up again. And then when I graduated chiropractic school, went into my cousin's practice in Los Angeles, high pressure situation where it's a high level chiropractic office. And I was just not thrown in, but I had just, entered from school, very different environment where I had to get used to this high level practice. And that's where, again, those feelings were coming up. But yeah, I've just been using those techniques to get through it. And, you build up confidence. The more you do a certain thing, the more, patients I'm able to help, the less anxiety comes up for me.
This is going to be, you can tell me I'm completely wrong in this question, but I'm curious do you think there was any part of you that chose chiropractic because you were trying to heal yourself? And the reason I ask that question is because my favorite example of this is comedians. Most comedians deal with depression, and it's because they're trying to make themselves happy. They somehow believe that like getting people to laugh will also maybe get them to laugh and to not feel depressed and unhappy. Yeah. I'm not saying that's you, but I'm just curious.
Well, that's a great question. And I've never thought about that. And maybe on some sort of deep down subconscious level, that's a possibility.
Because I think a lot of times we choose the path of the problem we're trying to solve in a lot of ways, right? Like sometimes maybe people go the caretaker route because they felt like they weren't a caretaker or whatever it is, right? Is like we're trying to make up for what we maybe lacked or didn't have, or I don't know, just an idea.
Yeah, that's a valid hypothesis, and you might be right on that. Let me ponder that
sure.
one. Yeah.
And I could be completely wrong. I think maybe you just love chiropractic, and I don't know, but like, yeah.
Well, there was, somewhat on that thread when I was about around that similar age. I also had bad allergies. And my cousin, who I ended up working with in Los Angeles, he was going through chiropractic school not too far from where I grew up in Northern California. So he would come to our house, do some laundry, educate us about chiropractic. And he brought up to my parents, hey, Mike's been really suffering with allergies. All of that's connected to the nervous system. Have you ever had him checked by a chiropractor? And they said no. And he recommended they start taking me. And sure enough, within a month or two, my allergies were completely gone and I was, healthy as a horse. So that left an impression on me. And, in the back of my head, I said, okay, maybe chiropractic is a profession for me. I followed, in the end, I ended up, of course, following his footsteps, but I was going to go into insurance, which was my mom's footsteps. I know, completely opposite end of the spectrum.
What kind of insurance?
She was in professional liability for architects and engineers. So
Okay, I have no idea even what that is, but all right.
Yeah, so I start
Yeah. It's fine. It's yeah.
But yeah, I was interviewing with her company, and after talking to a family friend chiropractor around that time, something hit me where I was like, this is not my calling, right? This is not, I'm not meant to be sitting in a little cubicle, writing insurance policies. I'm meant to make a bigger impact on the world, and that's going to be helping people in a natural way. And I know it's a way that's helped me in the past. So I'm going to make that decision. The next morning I woke up, called my cousin. I said, hey, I want to be a chiropractor. He's like, what? Okay, you got a long road ahead of you, and I'm excited for you. Like, let's go. And so signed up for my prerequisites, and just didn't look back.
That's probably so exciting for him.
Yeah.
Like when somebody has an impact on you that's so transformative that they want to follow your path. I bet you he'd love that.
Oh, yeah.
Side note on the insurance thing, because I find this interesting. Yeah. Maybe the listener does as well. But the good thing about insurance, I don't know about your mom, but like generally speaking, that industry has been around for like hundreds of years. Mm-hmm. And the reason is because like in terms of making money, it's a pretty great model because basically it's like, you pay somebody in case something happens. Yeah. So like you could never have to fulfill on that service ever. And so it's like in terms of a business model, it's like
it's lucrative. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's crazy lucrative. Like the amount of people that I know that have built a lot of wealth by just selling something that's like in case something happens. Like think about that. Like if I went to the grocery store and I just paid them and they're like, just in case you run out of groceries, I don't know, maybe they'd be like, oh, this is great. It's like, that's kind of what insurance is. Yeah. Right. Yeah, it's crazy to me in terms of a business model, but
yeah, I wonder how often they do have to pay on instances.
I mean, if they've been around for 100 years, it must not be very often. Right. They're definitely making more than they're spending. I'll tell you that much.
100%.
But I digress. Okay. So, thought you were going to do insurance, decided to go the chiropractic route. You said a word that I found interesting. I want to take a natural route. Mm-hmm. Why? Why not medical?
Yeah, there was something that resonated with me as I was learning about chiropractic. I even gave a speech about chiropractic in college just because I was so interested in it. And,
what was your undergrad?
Majored in communication, minored in marketing.
Got it.
Yeah, that was at CSU Chico. But yeah, there was something about the natural approach to letting the body do the healing as opposed to, taking an outside-in approach with drugs and surgery. My preference was to take an inside-out approach to getting to the root cause of the problem, letting the body heal. And I learned a lot about that from the chiropractor, not only my cousin, but the chiropractor who I saw in Northern California who ended up, helping me with allergies.
What do you think are some of the biggest lessons you took away from your cousin in this? Would you call it a high volume? What'd you call it?
I mean, it was a high performing practice. Yeah.
What does that mean?
There were just a lot of high level people. I don't know how else to put it, like celebrities, athletes.
Because it's LA.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, it was right by Santa Monica.
So if you mess up, it's like, that's not good. Like,
yeah. And coming in and as a brand new chiro. Yeah. And I was just following him around, and I probably wasn't in the best shape. Probably had an extra 25 pounds on me. Was not shaving every morning. So he put me in check, which I needed. And that
sounds like a mini boot camp.
Yeah, he's like an older brother to me.
So. So yeah, back to that question, I guess. What were maybe the biggest business lessons, marketing, practice lessons you maybe learned in that experience?
I mean, there was so much. I learned it all from him.
What would you want other business owners or chiropractors or healthcare professionals to know?
I think the biggest thing that I learned from him was connecting with people and having systems in place. So those two things, like if you're able to be a people person and connect well, have a good conversation with 95% of the population, yeah, there's going to be that 5% that you just don't jive with, and that's okay. But if you can get your message across and be likable to those people and have systems in place that you know work, you're going to be fine.
What's the playbook for being likable? Because everything's a skill, right? Like I fundamentally believe this is like, even when people talk about soft skills of communication or whatever it is, empathy, those on some level can always be broken down into just behaviors, which means that it can be broken down into what is the skill to this thing. So I'm just curious as to, obviously you'd probably do it very naturally. You're a very friendly guy. But if you had to, but if you had to break it down, is like, I mean, what is the playbook to being likable?
Well, I'd say number one is creating rapport. And number two is getting people to talk about themselves and their passions.
Love that.
Which you're naturally good at.
Yes.
Obviously, you're a podcast host. So.
Dude, I love that you said that. It's so good. I literally just created a post the other day. Actually, my podcast episode that recently went out was talking about that exact concept of step one is to literally just ask good questions.
100%.
Yeah. Like just my girlfriend, Michaela, who you just saw, I tell her that all the time. Cause like when we go to networking events and she's like, I just don't know what to talk about. And it's like, you don't talk about anything. Just ask them about themselves. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
Like get them talking about their problems. They love that.
Yeah. And their studies show that the more people talk about themselves, the more they have an affinity to the person that they're telling them their problems to, or whatever they're telling them.
What's cool about that is it takes the pressure off of you, right?
Yeah.
And maybe I'm sure I do this naturally because I actually don't love talking about myself. And so that's why I do ask a lot of questions and I love to learn.
Yeah.
And I'm not learning when I'm talking. I'm learning when I'm hearing what other people have to say.
Right.
So that's why I do it naturally. But yeah, that is, it takes the pressure off.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more.
Interesting. Okay. So you said communicating and systems.
Correct.
Can we tackle the second one here quick? What does that mean? Systems.
Yeah, I mean, systems in place, figuring out what your business needs to run effectively and efficiently and make that repeatable. I'd say those three things would be the most important in regards to having good systems in place. Obviously, staff plays a part because staff is the first person that a new patient interacts with, and if they're not greeted with a high level experience at that point, then how do you think you're going to look, and how much do you have to make up for that poor first impression, that type of thing.
So I promised somebody that I would ask this and since you brought it up, I'm just going to bring it up now. How do you attract and retain good talent then, right? Because I mean, part of growing a practice is having a good team in place. I'd argue it's like one of the most important things. How do you do that?
That's a great question. And I prefer to recruit in-house or from a referral, a friend.
In-house as in patients?
Yeah, I mean, it's happened. And my current front desk office manager, Melissa, she was a patient first, and she expressed interest in working in the office. And I thought she was a great fit. And my last office manager pursued a different venture after about a year of us working together, which was fantastic. And then Melissa just slid into that role, and she's above and beyond, from organizational to patient communication to just creating the experience that I want to put out to my patients.
Well, I mean, yeah, it makes sense. They're already bought into chiropractic care.
Exactly.
What did you guys do? Do you guys do anything online, or did you have to do anything online? Or I'm curious.
As far as marketing?
No, more like, so I guess even like during COVID, I'm sure you were probably still working in California, right? You probably had to shut down. Did you do anything online or have to get employees online or hire anything of that nature?
No, we actually were open.
Oh.
We were closed for about a week or so. And then I forgot what they called necessary providers or essential providers.
You guys were an essential provider?
We were.
Awesome.
Yeah. So obviously we just took some different measures of cleaning and followed the rules with the masks for a little bit. And then we were just back up and running. Granted, we lost about, I'd say 20% of our practice, maybe 25%. I did start running ads at that point. just to kind of supplement for the loss. But all in all, I mean, I'd stayed pretty much along the same level as I was staying before.
I was working as an OT at the time, and we were also one of the few businesses that was able to stay open. Actually wasn't even happy about it because I was just a super cool employee at that moment. But so something I want to for sure hit on too is you've since come to Austin and been able to grow a successful practice here in a relatively short amount of time. And I'm sure a big part of that is through networking, community building, and things of that nature. What are maybe some of like your top strategies that you found effective in that realm of like being able to grow the practice relatively quickly?
Great question. Well, I continued doing the same method of, connecting with the community as I was doing in Los Angeles. As soon as I got to Austin, I hit the ground sprinting, and I connected with a few, I suppose you'd call them influential people here in the communities that I wanted to take care of. So I contacted those people, said, hey, where are you going to be? What events are you involved with? I do these spinal motion and alignment checks. Can I pop up at your event? I think that's where I met you at one of them at Sapien Center.
How did you make the connection with these influential people? Did you already have it? Or?
I already had the majority of them. Some of them had come from Los Angeles, like for example, Preston, who's a mentor of mine. So connected with him and a group that we were associated with at that time. And then it was just meeting people, going to places where I thought my ideal patients would be. Ended up connecting with Kuya, 10th Planet, martial arts studio. And these are all, filled with patients who really could benefit from what I do, and patients who I love taking care of, active professionals, some in the spiritual community.
I can safely say, I think we moved here relatively close around the same time. I believe so, like 3 years ago.
Yep, about that.
Yeah. It's funny. You definitely practice what you preach, because I feel like I couldn't go anywhere without seeing you. I've seen you at like at least a half a dozen events. I even saw you at a barbecue place in South Austin at one point, just randomly. And then not that long ago, I saw you at a sushi restaurant. Obviously you weren't working at either of these places, but my point is like, I can't get away from you, which is great from somebody who's trying to build a practice, right?
Right. I feel like, the more hands you can shake, the more people who know who you are and what you do in a given community. I mean, that's how you want to get out there.
What would you have done if you didn't already have those influential connections in a city? Like, let's say you were a practice owner and you were just opening one somewhere new, you had no connections, no reputation. What would you have done?
That's a great question. I don't have a full on answer for you in that regard. The connections were massive for me to be able to grow as fast as I have. I would go to places where I'm interested in going to, like martial arts studios, do what I love to do, and then connect with people, like-minded individuals. Go to meetups, go to networking events. And that's what I did when I got to Los Angeles initially. A lot of networking events.
Sounds like dating.
Yeah, it was
right?
like speed dating. There was speed networking too.
Well, right. Like, I mean, whenever you ask like somebody about dating advice, I feel like that's the advice that's most often given is like, just do what you like doing. If you like playing sand volleyball, go play sand volleyball and meet the people who play sand volleyball.
It's pretty straightforward.
We love to complexify it though, right?
It's just simple.
It's like, give me the hack. It's like, just live your life and get in the community.
Yeah. And there's usually some investment involved, but what, $100 a month to be part of a CrossFit gym, or $150 to be part of a yoga studio if you do yoga. So it's just all about what resonates with you and the people you want to take care of, where they are.
And so, are you hiring right now an associate, I think?
I was looking into it, but I've taken my foot off the gas in that regard.
Why?
I just don't feel like the practice is ready for that yet. I feel like I can handle the patient volume that we have right now. When we start ramping up ads and things, that's when I'll start looking again for someone. I did have someone in helping me out for a little while. He ended up moving back to California. Great guy, just wasn't the right fit.
Meta ads, or what are you doing?
Meta ads, yeah.
Predominantly.
Yeah, we paused them for now. But I'm ramping up my content game with a patient named Jake Thomas. He's awesome. So he just launched a bunch of my content. So I'm going to be posting that shortly. Yeah.
Are you familiar with local service ads?
I'm not.
This is something that I'm glad I'm finally able to talk about this on the podcast show. This is something I've been talking to a lot of clients about. Mm-hmm. LSA is the short version of it. Actually just got Michaela kind of set up with some of this. It's just basically a very low hanging fruit, especially for chiropractors or physical therapists or things of that nature, to start attracting local leads. And it's kind of like a pay-per-click deal. So basically if someone's searching for chiropractic near me, it'll be on like Google Maps, one of the sponsored links that people can click and then call you immediately. And I'm pretty sure you only get charged if somebody actually calls. What makes it unique though compared to most ads is that it's only certain industries and it's only certain professions that you can get on here. So it's like plumbers and like more your like service professionals, local service professionals are the only ones that can be on there. It's a pretty low hanging fruit. It's really, I mean, there's a process to get approved for it, but once you're approved, it's pretty cool.
Nice.
So
I'll have to check that out. Thanks for letting me know. Yeah.
Low hanging fruit for a lot of people. I'm glad I could bring it up for the listener because it's something I've been telling a lot of people about. But
local service ads.
It's a Google service.
Okay.
So let's step into sales a little bit. So I know sales is a big part of this, right? So obviously you can go out, let's say you're a practitioner and you're doing the networking and you're making the connections and you're seen everywhere, including barbecue shops, and you can't get away from people. It's like, well, then how do you take all these connections and like actually convert them into being a patient? Like, how do you sell them?
Great question. So when I'm doing these spinal motion and alignment checks, that's the main way. It's a 3-minute structural check that I've been working on for years to just get it most efficient, where someone sits down, I'm going to let them know, hey, I'm going to feel your spine, looking for any bones that are out of alignment. If I find any, I'm going to call them out to you. I'd like you to highlight on this chart. And it's a chart called the Merrick chart, where it has all the different spinal levels, where the nerves travel in terms of organ function of the body. And then on the far right column, there's a list of symptoms that could result from those misalignments over time if they remain uncorrected. So immediately they know that this is going to be an interactive process. I sit down behind them and I check their spine and I'm going to call out anything. So let's say I find C2 that's out of alignment. Okay, C2, circle it. Then they can see right in front of them. Okay, oh wow, I have headaches. Well, that's because there's pressure on your brainstem. So, that's a misalignment that we're going to want to get corrected. And then I'll point out a few different areas if they have them and how those, getting those corrected can improve the function of your body, and then give them a special that they can't resist, to commit at that point to scheduling and taking care of their first visit. And 90% of people sign up at that point. So yeah, it's worked in building a 6-figure practice both in Los Angeles and here. And that's really all I do.
Do you do it in clinic as well? Like, let's say if a new lead came into the clinic, would you go through that same process, or is it different?
It's more elaborate if they came into the practice. Yeah, if they came in, they're, more serious than someone just sitting down on my table at an event.
Got it.
Yeah.
I love the aspect of using assessments or selling assessments to almost diagnose. So somebody can self-diagnose basically. I mean, obviously you're doing it as you're going through it, but in a lot of ways they can self-diagnose. And so it makes them problem aware.
100%.
It's one of my favorite things because you can also do it digitally. This is something that I do with a lot of clients of mine, is that I use quizzes a lot. It's one of my favorite forms of lead magnet. I've seen conversion rates from like websites or landing pages go from like 5 to like 50% using quizzes and assessments essentially, because in the same way that you can like touch somebody's spine, is somebody can also fill out a questionnaire, and it's like based on this questionnaire, we can have it generate a result that's like high, medium, or low based on like how they answer the questions. And it can give them like, this might be some of the things that you're dealing with based on how you filled out this assessment.
It's genius because it empowers the patient to make an informed decision, even like on a minute scale. 2 minutes, 3 minutes, like, hey, this is where you're out of alignment. Here's where your body has potential to be functioning at a higher level, simply from a nerve function standpoint or communication standpoint, not just pain. Although what we do is great for pain, we actually optimize the signaling pathways between the brain and the body, taking pressure off of the system to, make sure that all of that's functioning well.
Totally.
And then they say, oh, okay, well, how do you correct it? And, we talk about, what we do in the office when it comes to the examination, computerized range of motion, diagnostic testing. We do a unique motion x-ray on most people where they can actually see on film where the bones are moving properly, where they're not. That way we know exactly how to get things corrected. It takes all the guesswork out of what we do. We're not just blindly thrusting into the spine based off of touch. And then I have people come back to go over their findings. They get to see their x-rays. It's an interactive process, and educating and empowering the patient, again, to make an informed decision about their health. And that's, it's a bigger commitment, usually for most people at that time, but they understand it. They have the information. It's up to them.
Totally. Yeah. It's one of the reasons I think x-ray machines are such a great sales tool, honestly. Like as this is going to sound like, because I'm kind of a salesy, markety kind of guy. Obviously that's what I do. Yeah. But like my thought process behind it is that, let's say somebody came in and you did an x-ray and you're like, obviously you wouldn't do this as a chiropractor, but you're like, hey, your arm is broken. Clearly in this image, we just did an assessment, which you do as a chiropractor as well, or with a quiz. It's broken. Now I'm problem aware that I have a broken arm. I should probably fix it. That's what I love about chiropractic, like x-rays and machines of that nature, is that it's like, you can be like, here's your spine. Look at how janked it is. Up to you. Yeah. I can help you. Choice is yours.
Yeah. More or less. That's what I do.
Right.
Simplified. And when you
it's way simplified. Are you kidding me? You have years of experience.
When it comes to when you're showing someone the x-ray, I like to do, hey, this is normal, and this is you, right? So this is how the spine should be moving. And we did the exact same study with you where we bent you left and bent you right. And this is what a normal spine should be doing. It should pinch on the side that you bend to, gap, come apart on the opposite side of the disc, and the bone should spin towards the side that you're bending. Okay, it's doing it here, it's not doing it here. You see that? Oh yeah, I see that. Okay, and these are some of the symptoms that you came in with. See that? That's where those nerves travel. So it makes sense.
And you can track progress.
Oh yeah.
Right?
I do pre and post x-rays.
See, that's why I said, again, this is like my marketing brain. It's like, x-rays are a freaking sales machine, but I don't know. That's just me.
It's all I know. I mean, some chiropractors practice without them.
I'm not, and I'm not implying it's the only method. Like there's plenty of ways, like even as when I used to be a practitioner, like we can show increased range of motion or increased strength or like there's many ways to show progress. That one's just so visual.
How long were you in OT for?
I think I practiced for like 3 years. Something like that. Yeah. And then I realized I suck at patient care and I'm way better at marketing. So that's what I do. But,
okay. Got it.
Yeah.
I was curious about your transition out of that.
Yeah. It was painful. Yeah. I mean, most of the pain came from sunk cost. If you're familiar with that, is like
the what?
Sunk cost. So basically sunk cost is when you put time and energy into something, it feels more painful to give it up. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Like if you're married for 50 years versus 5 years, right. 50 years is going to feel more painful because you've invested so much into this relationship.
I get it.
It's true for everything.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah, it was like so much school and debt and money and time and energy. And then it's like, I don't want to do this, but I put all this energy into it. So yeah, that's where most of the pain came from. But
thanks for sharing.
Yeah. Yeah. Much happier now. It's all is good. Where was I going with this? So yeah, okay. So I wanted to touch on real quick in terms of patient education. So obviously this is a huge part of this sales process is like just getting somebody educated in the methodology, the practices, how this can ultimately help them. I'm curious how this is also shown up in your sales process, and also to how do you differentiate yourself in the market? Because I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of chiropractors out there talking about educational stuff. Like, what's the differentiation piece that comes into your practice? Well,
I mean, the motion study X-ray that I was just talking about, I'd say I'm about 1 in 7, 800 chiropractors in the US that does this type of study.
Oh,
So there are a lot of chiropractors who just take static x-rays. They won't go through the different flexion, extension, or lateral bending of the lumbar spine. So that sets us apart. And that's, again, what I learned in my cousin's practice as well. This was a two-part question. What was the other part? What else sets us apart?
and education. Yeah, like what do you do from an educational standpoint, and how is that part of the sales process?
Well, yeah, I think I went over as far as educating them, as far as making sure, hey, this is where what we want to see in terms of the bones moving. This is where you're stuck. So in that regard, linking those misalignments with different symptoms, and then talking about what it'll take to get it corrected, the laws of physiology and tissue repair, and then teaching our patients how to move really with the biomechanical intelligence to avoid recreating the same imbalances that they came in with. So a lot of that is making sure that we get it corrected so I don't have to see them X number of times per week for however long, right? Whichever one's different. But the goal is to get it corrected so you can go about doing what you love without having to rely on me as often. So get it corrected, and then you'll have all the tools to maintain this, all the tools in the tool belt from a mobility motion standpoint. We do curve corrective modalities. So for those who have lost a normal neck curve, we work on getting that back through a cervical traction device. And then for those who have either lost the curve of the low back or they have degenerated discs, once we get the bones moving, we get them on a back bender designed to open up the disc spaces for some potential structural changes that we're going to be making within the discs. And then I have designed an entire movement course that I created with a personal trainer. So content over, let's say, 12 weeks, where every week they'll get a new video with a new set of movements from mobility to stretching, and then finish with strengthening. Because if we don't get the muscles and ligaments nice and strong around the new structures we're creating, it's like, where do you think the bones are going to go? Right back into these old altered states of alignment. So really it's just a retraining process. And, Modus is movement. We're a center for conscious movement, where I want people to move consciously and be aware of how they're moving their body on a day-to-day and the positions that they find themselves in. Just that things like being at a computer or being on your phone, right? You have your phone up here, like you're taking pictures of someone, as opposed to, hurting the neck looking down. So little things like that.
Does everybody go through that personal training collaboration program, or is this like a unique upsell, or how's that part of the process?
It is part of our entire corrective care process. So for those who commit to whether it's like 8, 12 weeks, some people need more care than that, but the program runs 12 weeks, specifically designed for the majority of people who need spinal corrective care. Like I said, all cases are different. And some people just come in once in a while for an adjustment. They're not on that program.
Do you have any idea what the commitment numbers are to that program? Cause generally speaking, online, do it yourself. I mean, even when I used to give home exercise programs, the compliance level is 5%.
Are you talking about compliance for people who actually do the movements at home, or people who commit to the program in general?
No, well, I guess either. I mean, I'm just thinking is okay, I sign up for your program. Mm-hmm. I love the differentiation. I'm glad you brought that up. Is having a program that you did with a personal trainer, and it's a videos, right?
Yes, this video.
So I could go home and I can also do these exercises as part of my program. I'm just curious of do people actually do it, or you know what I mean?
I mean, I track the views and everything on
So do you know platform. What the compliance levels are?
I haven't done the numbers exactly, but I mean, everyone comes in and oh, I loved week 3, or
really,
I'm struggling with week 2.
That's
specific
cool.
movement, or they'll come in and they'll ask me for advice, and I always let them know, hey, let's keep an open line of communication. If any of these movements are not agreeing with your body structurally, let me know and we can modify them.
So do you collaborate with the personal trainer, or do they just do the videos with you?
The personal trainer is from Los Angeles. Oh. He just helped me with the videos. Yeah.
Because I feel like that could be an easy, symbiotic type relationship in terms of if someone's asking questions about certain exercises, you could be like, well, you should talk to my trainer or whatever. I don't know.
Right. I mean, the practice in Los Angeles had a mobility specialist in the practice. So my cousin had hired a movement specialist essentially.
What are you doing? Your name is Modus. Why do you not have one of those in there?
I am the movement specialist.
I bet you that helps too with retention, right?
Oh, yeah.
I gotta imagine because if someone's bought in enough that they're doing the programs at home, it's so smart. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, is because like now it gets them thinking about you outside of the clinic, and then when they come in, you have something to talk about. And if they don't do it, you could be like, did you do the thing? And they're like, no. And it's like, well, okay, then it's no wonder, right? Like, and then like they're probably more often coming in and seeing you because of like going through the videos. Interesting.
All of that. You're spot on.
Huh. Yeah, I've not heard of somebody doing that, but that's actually brilliant.
So yeah, all of those ways are ways that we differentiate ourselves, and it's an overall experience. It's a high level experience coming into the office. All of the art is electronic. It's all digital NFT art. And there's always a cool, unique picture that moves. Again, Center for Conscious Movement. So even the art moves.
So don't come in high, is what you're saying. You'll be tripping.
Yeah, exactly. Especially don't eat any brownies. Or do.
So what? It seems like you're in this like phase of building, growing. Like you seem pretty established at this point. What's maybe some like advice or practical advice you can give to someone else that's also trying to grow and expand their practice? And because it seems like you have a consistent caseload. Systems are obviously important to you. I would argue probably a lot of people listening have some of this stuff in place. What's expansion look like then? How does somebody attack that practically?
Expansion for me in particular, moving forward, or are you talking about someone who's just getting their practice off the ground?
Moving forward.
Moving forward for me, I've thought about additional locations in the future. I'm not quite sure if I want to go that route or not. Maybe it's 10, 15 years from now, there's an exit, right? And I want to spend more time with my family or travel or, something along those lines. Maybe we expand into a larger space over the next 5 to 10 years. I mean, those are all possibilities. Bring in another chiro, have him or her run the show while I, am part-time potentially. I don't know, there's a lot of different options. And I love having that. I love having those options.
Can I ask you an uncomfortable question?
Sure.
What are you afraid of? Like, why do you not want to expand?
Good question.
I don't think there's a wrong answer.
It's not that I don't want to expand. And I think it comes down to the more responsibilities, right? The bigger I get, the more responsibilities I'll have. And I like to keep my life fairly simple. But I still like to, I like to balance. I love a nice balance where I can have a great quality of life. Like I work Monday through Thursday. I have great hours, 3-day weekend every week. So I love what I have right now. And if I can just expand that, whatever that looks like, I don't know if it looks like more practices. That's all I'm saying. There's definitely expansion in the future. I'm not complacent by any means.
Yeah. So the only reason I ask that is because like in a lot of ways I'm talking to myself in my own journey of coming up on 5-6 years now. And I learned about this recent idea of the pain line in terms of I was experiencing something similar in the sense of in my brain, I thought that bigger meant more stress and more pain, and we don't grow into pain. But what I'm also realizing is that that's actually flawed thinking. I think that when you free yourself of the time, then it doesn't become more pain. And a big part of freeing yourself of the time is having an associate, having team members, and having other people doing a lot of the tasks. And I don't think there's a wrong answer, because like some people, I talk to lots of practitioners who they just want to continue to practice and they're super cool. Yeah. They make an awesome living. And I think that's totally cool. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I think there's no judgment in anything I'm saying. I'm just always curious as to like that mentality, because I used to think the same thing. And my favorite example of like where I realized this is flawed thinking is one of my buddies owns a chain of Jimmy John's locations out in Michigan. And the first 2 locations was exactly that. It was a ton of stress, ton of work, working crazy hours. But what he learned is that actually more locations led to less stress. Now he's at like 7 or 8 or something like that. And now he's like, he works a couple hours a week because he has the team and the processes and the systems in place. And he's making a small cut of these all 8, which is enough to keep him good. So it actually for him was the opposite. And so I think that's often the case is I think we assume more locations, more staff is more stress. So oftentimes it's the opposite.
Yeah.
If you put the right systems in place.
Exactly. And there's definitely those symptoms that I'm not familiar with when it comes to bringing in an associate. There's a lot for me to learn there. So
Totally.
And I've dabbled in it, and it's a lot.
Totally.
And I've gone through it obviously when I joined my cousin's practice, and the stress that he was under just to get me up to speed. And then, the stress that I was under when this person didn't know all of my systems. It's just, yeah, you have to have systems to teach the systems to to the new people.
Yeah. I mean, there's levels to it, right? I mean, the levels are the practitioner, the manager, and the entrepreneur or the owner. And you have to work your way through those systems, right? Like being in the manager isn't that fun either, right? Practitioner can be fun. Right. Manager might not be that fun, but once you're like have other people doing those and the top position,
right,
just leading and just like continuing to support the team, it can be fun. But
yeah, I agree.
Just throwing it out there. I mean, there's no wrong answer.
Thought a lot about that.
Yeah. And again, I'm going through my own growing pains, so that's why I'm
good for you.
Yeah. I'm learning how to stop doing all the things so that I can focus on the bigger picture, but easier said than done. What are some of the pitfalls you see other practices make, and some of the pitfalls maybe you saw at your previous practice when you were working with your cousin, and some of the stuff that you ran into in your practice here today?
Honestly, I don't have huge ones that come to mind. I feel like I've been able to seamlessly, take what I've learned and implement it here with my own spin. If anything, it's preparing for the downs, not the ups. You're preparing for the downs, right? You're gonna have massive swings. There's different seasons. There's seasons where I found people love to take care of themselves, like one that we're about going into when the weather gets better. And when it gets cold, people tend to not really take care of themselves that much. It's just a trend that I've noticed. So preparing, stocking that money away into your business account and making sure that, you're ready for a rainy day or month or two, who knows. You got to be ready for anything. And that's something that I wasn't fully prepared for in regards to like preparing financially for having my own business.
Are there patterns? And the reason, and I agree, because like it's a terrible analogy, but it's so true, is like entrepreneurship is a roller coaster. Yeah. It literally is. You're from woo, is this so amazing and awesome, to God, this is horrible, I want to burn it all to the ground, and back and forth. But like, do you notice patterns?
Oh yeah, definitely. And it's seasonal. Like I said, there's just different seasons that, where I'll notice people are just doing everything they can to get in and take care of themselves. And there's others when they just don't.
Cause I remember when I was in OT, I had a manager tell me something around like, I think it was like spring was like always a very high season for us in terms of patient, because like people are wanting to get healthy again for the summer. And then the lulls were like, it was very like cyclical. It was like there was like 2 months that were like very high and 2 months that were very low, like almost routinely. December,
people are traveling. It's cold.
Yeah.
January as well. But yeah, in the new year, there's a little burst, right? With people with their resolutions and whatnot. But yeah, overall, there's definitely ups and downs depending on the seasons.
What's one piece of advice you wish you'd received early on in your practice that might have impacted your business growth or your marketing strategy?
I think the biggest piece of advice would be just trusting the process and just knowing that everything you experience, you can look at as a lesson, whether it's a win or a learn. And it's definitely just guiding you on your path, whether you realize it or not. I'd say those would probably be the biggest pieces that I would say. Yeah.
I have a round of rapid fire questions for you.
Okay.
It's whatever the first thing is that comes to mind.
Okay.
What's your best business advice?
Do it now. It's the best hack for procrastination. Ready, fire, aim.
Is that what you say?
Words, yeah.
Ready, fire, aim.
Yep.
Best marketing advice?
Connect with people, get out in the community, and know who the influential people are in the areas of people you want to connect with.
Define influential, because I think that might be a little soft term.
Say people who have connections or they're decision makers. So those decision makers, whether they're owners of a business, that I could say, hey, can I pop up and do these spinal stress checks at your business? And it's a yes or no, right? And if I'm in, and then I have the opportunity to, grow my practice around the people who I'm choosing to be around.
So moms seem like decision makers of the family.
Moms are decision makers. Yeah. People who care about, how their body's functioning. Yeah.
What's your favorite part about business or entrepreneurship?
The freedom. Just having the ability to create my own schedule and be able to balance things with my family.
When are you the most productive?
About mid-morning.
Mid-morning?
Yeah, mid-morning.
You got to get the coffee in you?
Get the coffee.
I'm probably the same, actually.
Yeah.
Who is your inspiration?
Definitely my cousin, who I learned everything from when it comes to chiropractic.
You guys pretty tight still?
Yes.
You call him regularly and hey, I've got this challenge?
We do chat a lot.
What's his practice look like now?
It's busy. Still in Los Angeles. Yeah, the Life Center Chiropractic.
Single location?
Yes.
Does he have associates?
Yes, his wife.
Oh, just the one?
Yes.
Interesting.
For now, he's gone through a few different.
And this is like ritzy LA fancy people come in there, or what?
It's more like spiritual, conscious community. But yeah, there's definitely some high level, high performers that come in.
Interesting. I always enjoy watching. There's a YouTube channel where this guy literally I think he's in, what's that rich area in California? It starts with a B.
Beverly Hills.
Thank you. He has a practice in Beverly Hills, and it's just hilarious to me. Like the content is literally him just adjusting the most attractive people you've ever seen in your entire life, or the most wealthy people you've ever seen in your entire life. And it's like, how do you not have a successful practice when that's your patient? It's crazy.
Yep.
Tell me one secret or something most people don't know about you.
I've collected autographs since I was a kid. I have over 8,000 of them.
What's your favorite one?
Favorite one? Oh gosh, there's so many.
What kind? Like any kind? Sports?
Sports, yeah. I used to go to baseball games when I was a kid. Found my way into the hallway where the players come out, and I would just get the whole visiting team's autograph.
8,000.
Yeah, over the years. I'd say Don Mattingly is probably one of my favorites.
Don't hate me. Who is that?
Don Mattingly, famous baseball player from back in the day, probably before your time.
Why is that your favorite?
He was just one of my favorite players growing up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you had just like a sentimental.
Yeah.
Got it. I didn't know if you
maybe Ken Griffey Jr. You know who that is?
Oh yeah.
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 Got his autograph too.
I got a Kirby Puckett autograph.
Oh yeah. I met him too. That's great. Oh, you're from Minnesota.
Yeah. Twins.
Nice.
Yeah. I figured that clicked for you.
Bunch of twin autographs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you change about yourself?
Nothing.
Cool.
Yeah.
What's your favorite app or resource right now?
Grok.
Oh yeah, you're a Grok guy.
I'm a Grok.
Are you on Twitter?
I am, but I don't really use it that much.
Why Grok?
I don't know. I needed an AI source, so I just started using that.
Who turned you onto that?
One of my patients. Why? What?
Nothing.
You have a look about.
I use a lot of AI.
Oh, okay.
I've used them all. So I'm
What's
just
your
curious.
preference?
Depends on the job.
Okay.
That's why I asked why I use Grok. Because
I don't
like,
know. I just have random questions that I'll just throw to the app. see what comes up.
yeah, it's great. It's a very good one. They're all very case dependent. Like the one I would say for the listener is like, if you're trying to do copywriting or writing or content creation or script writing, Claude.ai,
Oh, I've heard of that.
probably my favorite.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're all very case dependent.
Okay.
Grok's a good general one.
Yeah. All I need it for is general. I'm not really doing that much.
Yeah.
But,
I have one last question. Before I ask that question though, I just want to acknowledge you
oh, thank you.
for, trying drugs and realizing that maybe that wasn't the path. In a lot of ways, I'd like to say on that note too, is that it probably steered you in the right direction to probably not do a lot of that stuff. Because I would argue that even a worse scenario would have been like you loved it and then you turned into some just like pothead that never did anything with his life. So there's a silver lining in this,
That is entirely possible.
right?
Yeah.
For following your path to chiropractic care and obviously having a passion for helping people and for putting in the hustle of growing your practice and networking and meeting people and shaking hands and getting out there and mixing it up, because that can be pretty energy intensive. So well done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
For sure. My last question, before I do, what's your plug? Where can people find you?
Modus Chiropractic. We're in South Austin. ModusATX.com or Modus ATX on Instagram.
And I expect you to see more content from you
Oh
lately.
yeah, it's coming.
Cool.
It's coming.
Adjustment videos? What are you doing?
Adjustment videos, but a bunch of different reels talking about different health related topics.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sweet. Last piece of advice. So if you were to go back to ground zero of starting your practice, or somebody else was in a similar circumstance, what's maybe the best piece of advice you would give to your younger self or anybody else in that circumstance?
Get to know your patients because they want you to succeed. If they believe in you, if they've committed to their care, they want you to succeed. So they'll do everything they can to get you there. Don't be afraid to ask them, hey, where can I connect with your community? Or can I set up, or can I do a talk? Things like that. So just, I would say ask for what you're looking for from people who believe in you.
Yeah, you can't get it if you don't ask.
Exactly.